Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Elliott. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Europa Science, which is the publisher of Electro Optics. And welcome to another edition of the Photonics Leaders. Very pleased to be able to introduce today Ben Saute. He is a product line manager for scientific at Telops, and he's agreed to sit in the hot seat and answer some questions. So thank you, Ben. Welcome. We always start this sort of project by asking a little bit about people's context and history. So my first question is, what do you think first drew you to a career in photonics?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been sort of interested in science from a young age, and I think I was really encouraged by two really excellent high school teachers to sort of pursue a scientific career. So my high school chemistry teacher was very influential towards me, and that was sort of my first introduction into physical sciences as a potential career. So I think that was the first sort of the first time I realized that I would like to do something like this for a career.
It's interesting how often people say it's always down to an individual or two. It's very rarely that people have a fully formed idea of what photonics is as a career, which I guess is one of the issues the industry faces a little bit.
Absolutely, yes.
So thinking back to your time at the University of Rhode Island, to your current role at Telops, can you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Sure. Yeah, so I started at the University of Rhode Island as a chemistry major, and as part of that, I was starting to do some, independent research with some of the faculty there. And my first exposure to photonics was in the form of spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy in particular. So I did a lot of my graduate school work developing techniques using Raman spectroscopy for sort of really low-level pesticides detection. So that was really my first introduction into the hardware around photonics. And I really kind of fell in love with instrumentation and data analysis and lasers and all that sort of stuff. So it was a really, it was a formative sort of time in my career. But, after that, I was able to get a job doing chemical detection, again, using Raman and infrared spectroscopy. And then that sort of transitioned into an interest in imaging technologies as well. So eventually I had some contact with Telops through my previous job. And, I went up for a visit, saw the hypercam, and it was really an exciting technology. And, the rest is history. I joined the Telops, a few weeks later, and I've been able to work with that technology ever since now.
Brilliant. And what do you think it was about the technology specifically that attracted you, or was it just the culture of the organization that you saw?
It was certainly both. I really enjoyed meeting all the people up here. Very nice. Everyone is super friendly in this company, everything. But on the technology side, I was working with spectroscopy on a single point basis, right? So, bringing the sample to the instrument, doing the measurement, all that sort of thing. But the key difference with the hyperspectral imaging is, of course, it's an imaging technology. So the first time I was able to see a full image with every single pixel has its own sort of infrared spectrum attached to it, I was really impressed with the utility of that kind of measurement, the things you can do, gas detection, sort of chemical analysis of a scene. It was really a powerful and kind of eye-opening experience for me.
Excellent. And I mean, obviously, it's been at the cutting edge of, that kind of imaging systems and obviously infrared cameras. And it's been around since 2000, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know much about how the business has developed over that time?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty interesting story. So our founders were, experts in hyperspectral technology. And then in, 2000, they started Telops to sort of provide engineering services for some defense-related customers to develop these hyperspectral systems. So that was sort of the first couple of years we were doing these engineering development projects. And then at the end of that process, we realized that we had a commercial product in the hypercam, right? So our first, major flagship product came out of these sort of engineering and development services at the beginning. So then we released the hypercam, and that was sort of our main flagship product for a while. But what was interesting, we realized that, if you sort of take off the spectrometer front end of that camera, we have a really interesting broadband infrared camera behind it. And so that was how we sort of transitioned from doing only hyperspectral to also providing, high speed and high capability broadband infrared cameras as well. It was a kind of a natural evolution from the hypercam to the broadband side.
Okay, so the hypercam was really the kind of the big sort of pivot point for the
Yeah,
organization.
for sure.
What year? Any idea which year that was?
I believe the hypercam was first released in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, and then the broadband cameras came around, I don't know, 5 years after that, something around there.
Excellent. Okay, so it's really interesting history how organizations can sometimes just evolve quite gently, or sometimes a product comes along and it changes the shape of what they're doing and how they do it. Interesting. Thank you. So I'm here talking to Ben Saute. He is the product line manager scientific for Telops, and I was interested in understanding a little bit more about the Telops portfolio today. How would you summarize it, Ben?
Yeah, so I would say our product line is focused on high-end measurements. We really try to build devices, instruments, cameras that will address sort of the most challenging scientific measurement problems. So whether you need a super high frame rate camera, you need high spatial resolution, spectral resolution, all these kind of challenging requirements in a measurement, we make systems that do those hard things. We really try to be at the cutting edge of the technology and sort of push the envelope on what's possible. So that's really been our DNA, from the beginning.
So that's obviously a very kind of ambitious kind of goal in terms of product development. I mean, are there any principles that sort of routinely define how products are developed at Telops?
Yeah, again, scientific rigor is sort of the most important one. That's always in the forefront of our mind. But again, we really focus on quality. We want to make sure that every camera we deliver performs exactly how, we say it's going to, up to the specification. And again, we like to really kind of partner with our customers a little bit. It's these are, not everyone is an expert in infrared imaging. So we'd like to make sure that, you're going to be successful when you buy one of our cameras, right? That's really important to me, is that everyone is successful and that we're sort of supporting our customers as best we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly universal thing I hear, this degree of kind of customer focus and really understanding the use case or the use need, if you like, is the critical component. And I guess as an industry, we've really had to learn that over the last sort of 20, 30 years as needs have evolved and obviously technologies catching up, or in some cases accelerated. So looking at today and the market that we're in, I mean, are there any particular challenges that are impacting some of the delivery of that product?
Yeah, I mean, we all live in the same sort of macroeconomic environment. We know that sort of inflation is an issue. Maybe it's slowing down, maybe not. But yeah, of course, we've seen increased prices on, supplies and parts and labor and stuff like that. But we really are trying to continue to deliver good value to our customers. So, it's certainly been challenging trying to manage, increased delivery times and increased pricing. But we're focused on still providing the best, value that we can to the customer.
Got it. And this sort of value proposition, when times are a little bit strained economically, becomes, I guess, ever more critical for both you and the clients and customers that you have. So this focus on customer satisfaction is understood. I mean, it's one of the things I would say Telops is known for. In terms of how that process evolves, is there a kind of typical timeline? I'm guessing you have customers that you work with routinely and other customers that might come in for a single, kind of order and then they move on, or the need is fulfilled. Is there a kind of general approach to how it happens?
It's interesting that the process starts before the camera is purchased, right? So the first thing we do is sort of have a conversation with the potential customer and say, what are you trying to do? What's the goal behind your measurement? And then we can kind of narrow down the best configuration for them and all that stuff. But typically what happens is they'll get delivered the camera, they'll start setting it up and play around, and they'll come come up with a roadblock or an issue or a question or something, and then they'll reach back out to us and we say, okay, let's take a look. Let's see, what's the best way to use the camera in this particular situation. We've got some excellent sort of technical support people, field application engineers that are really great with knowing a lot about the applications, honestly, and becoming sort of experts in the areas in which our customers are working. So that's really helpful. And I think the customers really appreciate the sort of investment in their areas of work that we make.
Okay, thank you. And I'm here talking to Ben Saute, who's the product line manager, scientific at Telops. And he's joining us for our chat around what's going on at Telops and what's coming up next. So I know that you have some exciting new products that are launching in the near future. And I've been really interested in the spec that you've shared. I wondered if we could talk about the three of them in turn, actually, if you wouldn't mind. Anything you can give away is great. We love an exclusive here on this. So first of all, I wanted to ask about the new high-definition infrared camera, which I think is out fairly soon, the HDR M700.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the HDR M700 is slated for launch next Thursday, the 8th of February, actually.
Okay. You heard it here first.
We're ready to get that one out to the world. That's a very interesting camera. It is unique in the market. The interesting thing here is in the name HDR, which stands for high dynamic range. So typically when we have a thermal camera with a single exposure time and a single image, we can measure about 100 to 150 degrees before we start getting saturation or underexposure, things like that. With the HDR M700, it's a completely brand new detector architecture, which really allows us to expand that temperature range in a single image. So instead of 100, 150 degrees we can get with a typical camera, we can get up to 900 degrees in a single image. And this is really important for people like, military signature and ranging types where, you have one chance to get a good image of whether it's a flare or a jet engine exhaust or something, and you want to be able to have that full temperature range in the image. So this is a pretty exciting product that I think is going to be very useful for people who are dealing with, scenes with high thermal contrast.
And has it been out in market at all? Have you been doing any kind of sneak previews for clients or potential?
Nope, not quite yet. We have a lot of things planned for our launch date for the 8th, so we're sort of getting our ducks in a row for that and preparing all the spec sheets and videos and all that stuff. But yeah, we've got some exciting stuff coming out, so yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Good to know. And then obviously next down the line, I understand, is the HyperCam Nano, which is a hyperspectral camera. What can you tell me about that and when's it out?
Yes, HyperCam Nano. So let me just back up here a bit. So we started with the HyperCam, and that was quite a large instrument. It was, very, very big, very heavy. And then a couple years ago, we released the HyperCam Mini. So that's a much reduced platform size. It's small. It's sort of easy to get around and deploy. But we're even going further with that with the Nano, and we're shrinking that size down to something that's definitely man-portable. So the Nano will have two sort of flavors. We'll do one, a ground-based version, and one that will be mountable on a drone, so for airborne imaging as well. So that's a very exciting product. That's in development right now. We expect release of that probably in the fall of this year. So yeah, stay tuned for more information on that as well.
And then in the summer, I understand there's also a high-speed camera. Is that right? An M2K-UD?
Yes. M2K-UD is a new high-speed camera that we have coming out probably April-May timeframe. This is a 640 by 512 pixel array at 1500 frames per second in the full frame. So this is the fastest VGA format infrared camera on the market. That's something that we have spent a lot of time and effort on, is sort of mastering the process of building high-speed infrared cameras. So this, again, is another way that we're sort of pushing the boundaries, increasing the spatial resolution capabilities in that high-speed world.
And what's the development timeline been like on the three of those?
Yeah, it takes, quite a while to develop one of these from sort of idea to release products. So just as an example, the HDR has been already in development for about a year. We still have another year to go before we sort of finish the full development. So it's a long cycle, but we have some really talented engineers here that are, they're able to sort of perform miracles all the time. So I'm very pleased to be able to be working with such a strong team.
Excellent. And I mean, we hear a lot about supply chain issues, disruptions, etc. Have there been any delays caused by issues like that?
It hasn't been too bad. I mean, here and there, we've had some delays where, a part will take us, a couple weeks longer to arrive than it necessarily has. So, yeah, that's certainly, extending out the development timeline a little bit longer than we're used to. So that's a challenge. But, we're always trying to realize efficiencies, speed up the timelines here. So, we're trying to do our best to not be affected as much as possible.
No, I mean, we hear it's easing a little bit in places, but as you say, you get the odd surprise problem that just emerges and things. Yeah, I guess exactly. It's a complex world these days. Okay, absolutely. Thanks, Ben. And I'm here with Ben Saute, who is the product line manager scientific at Telops, and I've been asking Ben a lot about what's going on now and where he's come from and where Telops has come from. And I wanted to think now, or get his attention focused on the future, what's going to go on in the longer term. So we hear a lot about the shortage of skilled engineers and technicians, and I wondered whether that's been a particular issue for Telops, and any thoughts on how shortages such as that can be addressed, anything you've seen or heard about which is interesting, or indeed anything that Telops is doing to try and solve its problem in that regard, if it has it.
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for talented people. We always want more people to join our team and help us succeed and all that stuff. But it's a challenging environment. There are, certain baseline skills that we need to have someone be successful in this field. So yeah, the main thing that we try to do is to focus on innovation. That's one of the things that really, I think, attracts a lot of sort of scientific and engineering minded people, is working on something cool and something new and really pushing the boundaries of technology. So, that's what we do. I think that's one of the things that really makes us an attractive place to work. So yeah, it's a combination of sort of a good environment, a customer focused environment where we're really trying to solve problems, and that sort of pushing the technology really, I think, can be attractive to people.
Absolutely. I think it's a universal truth, isn't it, that people are always drawn to great organizations, great cultures, and great work, actually. So, no, that really resonates with me. I understand that. So we talked a little bit earlier about what you've got coming up across the rest of this year, 2024. If you have a crystal ball, you may well have one. What does the future look like in the longer term? Say, what could we be hearing from the organization next year, or indeed the years after?
Sure. Yeah, so we've been, mostly focused throughout our history on delivering products. So we're going to keep continuing to focus on deliver products and, innovate in that space. But one of the things that's really exciting is that we have launched a methane detection service, an airborne methane detection service. So the idea here is that we mount our Hypercam Airborne Mini onto an aircraft, and we fly over natural gas delivery pipelines to do sort of the leak inventory work that is being sort of mandated now in sort of all these different regulations. So, we all know that methane is a big problem and a big issue that's getting a lot of attention. So we see a lot of success there already, but I think that in the future, we will be focusing even more on being able to provide services to these customers. I mean, not everybody is an expert in hyperspectral imaging. It's not, it's not like, picking up your iPhone and shooting a photo, right? So there's a little bit of skill and experience that's needed to make that measurement successful. But with the services, we can sort of leverage our expertise to sort of directly solve problems for the customer. So that's been really exciting to watch it kind of grow so far, and we're looking to continue doing that in the future here.
Excellent. That's interesting. We'll watch this space. And then finally, obviously, you have a successful career at Telops. I wondered if there are any other particular professional goals you were chasing in your role there at the current time.
Yeah, so I sort of just became product line manager about a year ago.
Mhm.
So the first year was spent kind of figuring out how to do that job well and getting my arms around everything. But in the future, honestly, I'm really enjoying this current role. I think it provides me with a nice overview of all the things that are happening at Telops, which I really enjoy getting sort of a holistic picture of it. So in the future, I hope to sort of continue going down this path here. I really like the product focus. So it's interesting to me to sort of understand the market and understand what needs the customers have. So yeah, I hope to sort of continue mastering this role and going forward from there.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, look, Ben, I really appreciate your time today. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking facing a kind of video screen being interrogated, but you've been a great victim. So thank you for your time. It's been fascinating hearing about these products, been interesting hearing about Telops, and it's also been very interesting hearing about you, because I think people respond so well to hearing about what companies are doing through the voices of the people leading those organizations. So thank you for taking part in the Photonics Leaders. This has been Electro Optics, as usual, bringing you what we hope is a really compelling insight into the people that are making a difference in our industry. So thank you, Ben, and please stay tuned, because there are going to be more of these. Thank you.
Thank you.